you can get the same uncompromising truth you've come to expect from the Final Call newspaper on all your connected devices. Subscribe to the Final Call Digital Edition today. Go to subscribe.finalcalldigital.com.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, we thank Allah for coming to the black man and woman in the wilderness of North America in the person of Master Fard Muhammad. We thank him for raising in our midst the promised Messiah, the exalted Christ, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. And we thank them both for their love, their mercy, giving us a light-giving son, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Greetings, beloved. Assalamu alaikum. Eid Mubarak. Tonight, May the 29th, 2020, we will complete the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's letter of introduction to Study Guide 16, The Law of God. This letter has proven to be so full, it really could be a course in and of itself. First of all, it is art, it is poetry. I have explained many times, and I repeat because it matters in helping us develop the proper view of this man, that when the minister dictates a letter, it never requires editing. If you are a student or an aficionado of literature, then you see the magnificence of this letter as a literary achievement. And so the self-improvement team here in Chicago had estimated 2 sessions to get through the letter because we knew it could not be completed in 1 session. However, we still underestimated the extent of the divine knowledge and wisdom that is packed into these 2 1/2 pages. And so we decided to allow you and ourselves 1 more week to chew and digest this exquisite spiritual meal. The Savior's Day message, the unraveling of a great nation. It was a little over 3 months ago. And look at the dramatic change that has taken place since that time. His words in this letter that we spoke about last week, predicting the 100% dissatisfaction with present-day leadership that will bring about a 100% change. A 100% change requires a completely unalike leadership with Allah and His messenger at the forefront. There is no clearer picture of the dissatisfaction with leadership, which has been an abysmal failure, than what we have experienced this past week as we watched repeatedly the torture and murder of a 46-year-old black man, George Floyd, from 3 different angles in high definition by Minneapolis police. There have been, as I make this recording, no arrests. The people have set the city on fire. There are protests in cities from coast to coast, including unexpected places such as my hometown of Columbus, Ohio, and cities like Denver, Colorado. Why are the people going off? The horrific state-sponsored murder caused grief, it caused anger. But what set off the violent reaction is the refusal of local, state, or federal authorities to make an arrest. I'm going to bypass our open enemy and get right to the weak house servants from among us. Minneapolis has a black police chief, and Minnesota has a black attorney general. The state attorney general of Minnesota, Keith Ellison, was pressed yesterday on MSNBC by a white news anchor as to why is it that a simple arrest, at least of the actual killer, has not taken place. Mr. Ellison's response was that evidence needs to be gathered. The reporter objected, almost crying out, "But isn't what we saw enough?" And the Attorney General, who has the authority to execute an arrest, continued hemming and hawing about the need for an investigation. There was a press conference held by the FBI with the same sort of evasion and equivocal remarks that don't make any sense. The former U.S. Attorney General, Eric Holder, took the same position later on in a different interview. We need to gather witnesses. They need to gather video. Are these people serious? What is wrong with them? The entire country has witnessed this killing. We have at least 3 different video recordings of the entire event, from the time they approached the car to escorting him in handcuffs to him lying down on the ground with this cop's knee in his neck and 3 other cops aiding and abetting him. Bystanders begging them to stop. The victim pleading to allow him to breathe. Ultimately, blood coming out of his nose. People saying, "You are killing him," and they did. A warp speed lesson in criminal procedure. In order to arrest a person for a crime, and in this case a felony murder, you only need one thing, beloved: probable cause. The police arrested George Floyd because they had probable cause. They never saw him do anything wrong. They got a call from a store clerk that he had attempted to pass a counterfeit bill. And in fact, the call was forgery in progress. Well, as a former prosecutor, I have heard of robbery in progress, burglary in progress, rape in progress. I have never heard of forgery in progress because it is a criminal offense. It is not a violent crime. If you're a store clerk and somebody tries to hand you a $10 bill and you see it's fake, you just say we can't accept this. That's it. But, of course, this is black people. These are foreigners in our community, and so they call the police. When the police arrived, Mr. Floyd was sitting in his car. They didn't approach him politely and say, "We would like to speak to you about a call we received." They ordered him out of the car, and within minutes he was handcuffed, and within less than 30 minutes he was dead on the ground. So why no arrest? Probable cause is the standard by which a law enforcement officer has reason to arrest a suspected criminal. It only requires 2 things: a sufficient knowledge of facts to warrant a belief that a suspect has committed a crime. Period. That's it. Number 1, a sufficient knowledge of facts. Well, we all have the facts. A man is dead. He died as a result of horrific injuries, consciously and deliberately inflicted by police while the victim was handcuffed and on the ground. This is on 3 different video recordings from 3 different angles. Number 2, to warrant a belief that a suspect has committed a crime. Not knowledge beyond a reasonable doubt, a belief that a suspect has committed a crime. So what is the problem? The problem is not the facts. The problem is the interpretation of facts by white America, which has a damaged perception of reality. Let's quickly go back to study guide number 12, entitled 4 Great Impediments to Self-Development. Minister Farrakhan wrote, quote, "The 13th and 14th Amendments sentenced the old America to death and signaled the beginning of a new one. Legally, the death of old America came with the Civil War. But the real death of old America could never come until the system of belief it was based upon was destroyed. That destruction takes place only with the coming of Master Fard Muhammad, end of quote. Okay, unraveling of a great nation. So in this case, it is not a lack of knowledge of sufficient facts. It is the system of belief in white America that the killing of a black man by a white man is not a crime. And they use their so-called Negro house servants to be their mouthpiece because they, with their sense of inferiority, hold the same belief. So we must stay in this hour close in spirit, mind, and action to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan so that we will see properly and act properly as Allah executes His plan. Now tonight, we complete the parsing and the discussion of this introductory letter to the law of God. And we must do this with a desire to master the process of self-examination, which the minister has said takes more courage than examining others. So hopefully you covered this section on the fall of Malcolm X last week, and we all should have been looking in the mirror while doing that. Pay close attention. If you did not get to it last week, you will this week, to what the minister wrote about his relationship with his teacher, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who was also Malcolm's teacher. And look at the difference in the relationships. And let us look at ourselves when he speaks to those of us who are either in or want to be in positions of leadership in the Nation of Islam, and what proper leadership in the Nation of Islam is. So let me not keep you from your study. We have been training study group coordinators from here in Chicago and various parts of the country who in the next week or so are going to be able to host Friday night study groups via video conferencing so that you can have the very best experience that we can provide you during these trying times. May Allah bless us all with love and the light of understanding as we experience this gift from Allah and His Christ through the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. Brothers and sisters, this is Sister Ava again. In the interim, since I recorded my opening remarks today, the police officer in the Minneapolis murder of George Floyd, the primary actor, has been charged now with murder in the third degree, which under Minnesota state law does not require intent to kill. It essentially means acting with a depraved indifference toward the life of another. I'm not going to comment on that now, but you know me, you know your girl is not happy, and neither should any of us be. The best and only solution to the problem here in America between black and white is separation. We'll talk more about it later, but I just wanted to give you that latest update. Thank you for your patience. Enjoy your study. Assalamu alaikum.